The rest of the fucking league with them.
Yeah, if we actually get to play. I'm pretty sure we're still waitlisted until the team drops out.
Oh, for what? For Wednesday?
Just in general.
Why?
If I understand correctly, enough teams are signed up that the lobbies will be full. We just got in today because the team didn't show up.
Oh.
But I could be wrong. We didn't play well enough to like, because like we won the block, then like they're not going to question it. They're just going to put us in line. Oh, we got like top 5. We got 16th. So I'm pretty sure they'll put us in like Div 2 unless there's 2 Div 1 lobbies.
I mean,
But
there's still trying to get 3 more weeks of qualifiers. So 3 more
really?
days. 2 more days. Wednesday and then next Monday, Tuesday, next Monday, Wednesday. All right. 3 months up anyways. Like you there?
Yeah. How are we feeling today, Frankie?
Just trying to get the day.
One of those, huh?
Yeah. You want to look up Dr. Bonehead? Is the guy I'd watch his videos.
DR or like doctor?
DR, yeah, DR.
Actually, so excited to do this, bro. I haven't looked at any of them yet.
But what's up, everybody? You guys are tuned into Feather Arc Radio. We are your hosts, as always. I am Danny, and with me are James and Frankie.
Yo.
This guy, he's just all Tower of God, huh?
No, he's doing a lot of when I get notified from him, he's doing the live reactions to Omniscient Reader, and he's doing the new Uric stuff also.
So it's a webtoon person then. Tower of God webtoons and voice acting. Okay. All right,
Yeah,
dude.
I like his videos for Tower of God. So we gotta just pick one and just see what he has to say, and if it triggers any ideas in our heads, I guess.
Okay, I think if we're just off this, right? There's some banger options here. The red herring option, super big. That's big to a guy like me.
Which one?
The Van Vessel option, very big to a guy like the truth about the red light district.
Yeah, red herring.
Red herring.
So he has stuff that like we would know about, and then obviously look, they have the Access Explained, which is like behind the scenes stuff that like is missing from the main story. Same with the Tower of God lore, the 3 lords.
Oh,
3 lords.
Yeah.
This might become my new favorite YouTube channel.
I found out
he's
recently
posted in
that the
7
3
months.
lords. Well, because the show hasn't been around for a while. Like I said, he switched to mostly live streams lately.
Oh, okay. He's still active with YouTube content.
Yeah, he's just not with Tower of God.
Okay.
But that 3
Rachel's
lords thing,
backstory.
I recently saw on Reddit that if like that's Korean, right? I forget.
What?
But in the original like language, they're mentioned. But apparently, when it gets transferred over to English, they just cut it out.
Or the 3 lords?
Yeah, that's what somebody on Reddit said, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, that just says Rachel Grace.
Yeah, the truth about Rachel's backstory. The real Rachel Grace.
Yeah, I'd say we shouldn't go anything farther than a year, because a year is pretty much when the story finished.
So we shouldn't do anything newer than a year?
Or no, farther back than a year.
Okay.
I think.
Because then that's too far back.
Because I think it's just like stuff like when it's coming out, but we could check.
Okay, Tower of God season 3 complete review. That's right here.
Yeah, but we don't know like what he was doing prior to that.
Yeah.
Hey, look, we got Wagnon, Jihad in the red light district. The Lord Dump.
Y'all aren't freaking out about Rachel having the same last name as
Bomb's I was sure we should do this one first. I'm kind of curious about this one.
I'm also curious about that.
Well, let's do it then. We got.
I hate this bitch.
Eyes do not deceive you. A Dr. Bonehead video in the year of our Lord 2024. Guys, I'm back and like for real this time, not like every other time I said I was back and gonna make videos and then maybe never did. This time, for
Similar.
real. You guys can trust me. Like, this time, I'm actually back. And the only way I'll prove it is through my actions. So stay tuned for more videos. I mean it this time. Please stay. Don't go, please. And with all the chaos happening with family heads and all these like new character revelations, what better time to talk about a
They really was out here like giving us a
character
fan
who
service
had
with Leon.
such a profound
Yeah, bro.
Oh, yeah.
impact
This
on
man's
Power of God that when you think of the series, it's hard not to think of this character and the most important moment of the series that was associated with that character, of
Damn,
course.
the old
today,
designs I really
we're
do
talking
enjoy
about
though.
Pericule. Let's go, baby! Revolution! It's kind of weird.
Pericule.
Rachel's in a weird spot where she's obviously still important. We know she's gonna play a role going forward, but with all this focus on Gusting, Traumarai, Enkidu, and all this stuff, it's hard to forget.
Fuck
Rachel
Enkidu.
is
I wasn't prepared for him to say Gustang and Traumarai. I wasn't prepared for those pronunciations.
Yeah, I don't like these pronunciations, but I'm rocking with the production quality so far.
still involved in the series, even in this current arc, but she has more of a background role. And I actually think this is the perfect time to discuss what I believe to be, if not the most likely explanation, probably the most interesting explanation as to who Rachel really is, what her purpose is,
Yeah,
and
Chad
explaining
Lips.
some of the mysteries that have never been explained about her character.
You don't even
But
got much.
first, the
It's
confirmed
how you
things that we
chop
know
such a
about
little
Rachel,
piece
it's
of your
kind of
butter.
hard to theorize if we're not on the same page about what Rachel knows and who she really is from what we've seen so far in the series. So from what we know, Rachel is somebody who helped raise Baum in the cave. She gave him his name. She taught him how to speak. Everything that Baum knew at the start of season 1 is
Manipulation
all
from day
thanks
one.
to Rachel. Now, we're led to believe that this cave
Those
is
old-
outside the
that old
tower.
artwork,
There's
man.
nothing that really deconfirms this. We know there's a jihad symbol in the cave, so like there's still some mysteries
What?
around it. The weird thing about this
Okay,
is that
pause.
we-
I forget that you guys did
We-
not
we-
go back to read
yeah.
the first.
Season 1,
Bit of
we did not read it. I just started reading until the Guardian test, which is the end of season
Yeah,
1.
dude, there's.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
think-
read until after season 2 of the anime.
I think you should read up to. If you guys ever find yourselves bored and want to kind of get into it, just read up to the Crown game. Everything before that might be interesting to you.
I know, but like that artwork is rough to look at. I can't lie.
Really? I don't know.
That's pretty bad.
I enjoyed it overall.
I like season 1 of the anime's art style.
Yeah, but the drawings, I meant, you know.
that Rachel wasn't trapped in the cave. Not enough people talk about this, but Baum was not allowed to leave by Rachel's own hand. Like, Rachel could come and go. And she even talked to Baum about the people on the outside. And we even see a flashback during the Crown game. It's unclear if it's Baum thinking back to this moment or if it's Rachel, but we see Rachel being bullied. Her hair is being pulled by some humanoid figure. So Rachel isn't trapped in
Whoever that was, shout out to them for doing that shit to her. I
That's
support
fucking
the abuse in the situation.
cave, so clearly she has some kind of life
Let
outside
it be
the
known,
cave. She
Denny.
decides one day,
is
I'm
a
gonna enter the tower. We know how
woman
that goes.
abuser, bro.
Baum's the one who opens the door.
Support her.
She falls through. Hedon kind of goads her into chasing after him and into seemingly killing him, probably because Hedon is working
So,
with
all right,
Baum,
hold on,
because
pause it.
Ghost is
Baum opened the door twice.
Yeah, she fell through the first time and then he opened it again for himself.
That's fucking crazy. This whole
Wait.
time I've been thinking like,
What do you mean? You say he
Rachel, like-
falls through? What does that even mean?
What do you mean? Okay,
Uh,
so in the panels, basically, like they're on the ground. He's like trying to go because she's like, "I'm leaving." Bam, bomb. He stops her. He jumps like he does the whole like rom-com thing where like he's on top of her and like they're staring at each other, and he's like, "Don't go," and then she falls through the door. Like the door's on the floor
because he opened it.
Doors on the floor.
because he opens it.
Yeah,
And
the
then
door
he
is
does it
magic.
again.
It pops up wherever.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure. So my theory about this, now that I understand it, is that the door would have never opened if she didn't tell him about the tower in that moment. So because he knows about the tower, he now has the power to open the door. You know what I mean? And then like when he opened it for himself, like the time that he actually went in, that was pure choice. He said, "I'm going to that fucking tower," and the doors appeared for him, and he opened them.
I don't think you need to know about the tower to open it by accident. To be honest with you, I think if you're like that, like as a regular, I think you can just open it regardless of your knowledge of said tower.
I will
Probably,
say the only
but,
thing that's
like-
interesting is that like I don't understand like because Rachel's like, "I'm leaving," so she's already aware that she might be going into the tower somehow. So
Or
that's
she's
it.
just
Maybe
like, or she's just gonna leave in general, go like live wherever. And then
no,
it
when
has
she
to
tells him
fucking
she's leaving him, she tells him she's gonna leave to climb the tower.
she's gonna chase the
But-
stars.
I always assumed that you could take a test to get into the tower. Like
Well,
before, but that was like before I understood how like the
from what
doors
I from
appearing to work
the
and shit.
couple things I know, so obviously Rachel wants to be in the tower. She gets in, even though it's mostly because through Bomb's help. But
Mm.
remember Selena? She's the girl who quit during the test. She was Shibasu's friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But she was about to die. And she was like, "Please, it's like I need to just get out of here." And that's when Hedon shows up.
Mm.
Same with the one dude who had like the horn, who
Yeah.
he also was like one. He was like the last of his people. He's just like, I just want a chance or something.
Oh, the one that
So I
stabs
think Hedon,
Rachel.
yeah, Hedon has like a some type of way of sensing like either people's really
Desire.
like that desire for it, or it could just be at random because like even the people like Hoon who's in the tower already can't start climbing until he's chosen by Hedon.
Yeah, I think
So-
it's a desire. I think it's desire based.
It's got to be at least that minimum, yeah.
Was sent by Hedon, and Ghost is in association with Fug, all that good stuff. And she pushes Bomb, then ends up still working with Fug after being carried by Kuhn's team. We see later on that she has a lot of knowledge regarding the 13-month weapons and the Jihad rings. She knows, and she's the one that reveals to Wang Nan and the audience that these combined are actually the key to the 135th floor. She also references Arlen by name at one point, and she knows about the prophecy about Arlen and her child. Later on, to get Bomb into
Why does he pronounce her name Arlen?
He says a lot of names weirdly.
Now, in some of the later chapters, it's spelled Arlen. So maybe it's because he's caught up.
Is it?
Yeah, it pissed me off when we were reading it. But I always assumed it was a translation thing because in the early chapters it's spelled Arlene.
For a long time.
I think I think reference her as Arlene Grace.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Her up the tower because she weirdly likes
casuals,
it.
boys?
I'm not gonna look too deeply into
I
that.
don't think
she
so.
loves it when Bomb chases her. It's kind of weird.
Bro, season 2 feels like so long. It feels like forever ago. I'm reading it.
Yeah.
It feels like forever.
Lifetime ago.
Yeah.
She uses the information that, hey, I know why you were trapped in that cave. And she even says that Arlen called you
still
a
past that we
monster.
don't know
And,
why.
At the end of season 2, she ends up in
Those are some
the
good chapters,
possession of Pobodao Gustang, who offers her 3 wishes. And now she's kind of seemingly working with Belerier/Revolution, and
Has
that's,
she
that's
gotten
all
any
we
of
know
those
about
wishes?
Rachel as far as
Like, do we know if he's granted any of those wishes yet?
I imagine having that bracelet's one of them. Probably staying,
So is she?
staying with them. Maybe it's 2. And then the third one.
Actually, no.
I don't
think
know.
she mentions like when she's talking about the bracelet. I think the wishes is the wish was technically to be like comparable to Bam or like to beat him. I think that's what the bracelet's
Yeah.
for, like to fulfill the wish of like something to do with Bomb.
Like, didn't she want Icarus's power? Like the Icarus from the hidden floor? Didn't she want those powers?
She wanted to stay looking like that, yeah. But I don't think she
Is she in
mentioned
a
that this
regular?
time.
Who?
She's technically in the regular, yes.
Rachel?
Even though she didn't open the doors herself.
Yeah, regular.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
she
but
wasn't
still
invited
went
in.
in forcefully.
Yeah,
She
not
wasn't. Yeah,
invited.
she wasn't invited in.
But she's not gonna get like the special or regular powers because she wasn't strong enough to open the doors.
Well,
She's
the only really special privileges the regulars have is that they don't have to listen to the rules of the tower. So she.
Yeah, and they don't have to make
has
like
that.
Shinzu contracts and shit. But she's not strong enough for that to matter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that like historically they say that the irregulars are strong as hell.
Yeah, because they
Because
opened the doors
obviously
themselves.
family heads.
She just stumbled in when someone else did it for her. So difference, I guess, in that
is like
sense.
confirmed.
Almost strong enough
on
to open the
paper
door for
fact.
2 people.
Oh, wait a minute. I forgot the most important detail, and that's that she's really good at cleaning. I promise you, this is prevalent information. There are 2 theories I want to address before getting to my main topic, because these are the most common theories, and I just kind of want to briefly mention them. The first is that Rachel is Arlen's maid. I told you the cleaning information would be
I think I mentioned
important.
that.
We all discussed, yeah.
People
I think
jump
we
on the
discussed that one.
fact that she's really good at cleaning as some kind of explanation that this is how she knows Arlen. She was Arlen's maid, and Arlen is the one who charged Rachel with
We were
taking
talking
care
about
of
like
Bomb in the
if say
cave.
that theory is correct,
Mhm.
like what that implies for like her hanging out with Bomb. Like if Arlen was like, yo, I don't want to talk to my son. Like you go take care of him for a while.
Babysitter?
That would line up with the whole monster thing.
Yeah, because if she's like Arlene, or we're sticking to Arlene or Arlen.
Arlene.
Arlene.
Like okay, so Arlene is like that fucking monster of a child, and part of me also has to think like if that was the vessel for V, she might not fuck with V anymore either,
Yeah.
because that's the monster. V's the monster.
Well,
anyways,
the monster is V, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, if it's really the maid, like she's like really just like, hey, go nanny my child, pretty much. Okay, continue.
Cave.
How old would that make Rachel?
Yes.
Old. Actually, somebody recently I saw that were saying that like we forget that Bam could be like thousands of years old also. That's it. Just
Yeah,
it's
I guess.
potential. You don't know how long he was in the cave.
Yeah, technically it's true.
Because we really do base it off
This
the fact that like, oh, he's been in the tower like 20 something years. But it's like, how long was he in that cave for? Because he really hated like he must have been there a very, very long time.
Yeah. Like the whole like aging thing, we don't know how it works outside of the cave. You know what I mean? How Shinju works outside of the tower and whatnot. I don't know how that stuff works.
There we
also
go.
explains why she knows the things that she does.
And we have
In
seen him
fact, when
age
she-
since the story started.
Yeah, I think Shinzu does that for you though, as you get stronger and stuff. Okay, like, it's like
Then it also hits
it's
the
like
point where you just stop aging.
yeah, it's like you mature as you get stronger, and then once you reach like your pinnacle like uh shape, whatever
Peak
age,
form.
whatever
I
pinnacle
think,
form, you can't
yeah,
stay
your
there.
form probably you probably keep the form of when you become a ranker, because we have the example of the old man who decided to not take the deal of like stopping the aging process,
Mhm.
and he became an old man.
Yeah,
The one who trained Bomb at the end of season 2 or beginning of season 2 or something like that.
like,
Yeah.
you just age mad slow.
Yeah, but if you take the deal, then you look young, or whatever. Because obviously Robodon looks old as hell. It just must have taken him a long ass time to climb the tower, or he's fucking ancient.
Or just how it looks. Just, yeah, it's white hair the whole time. I mean, white hair was a kid and everything too.
Born like this.
Born like that, yeah.
Actually, there's a panel of him as a kid. We could check it to see if he has white hair or not.
Yeah, when Kieran's a baby, I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
has white hair.
Hey, man, just look like that. Then.
first meets Hedon in season 1, she references a book, some kind of book about fairies in the tower. She calls Hedon the fairy in the book. I find this a bit strange because later on with Wangnan, she knows so much information, like specific information about the rings and the weapons, but back in season 1, she was calling Hedon like a fairy and didn't like understand the true nature of the tower. But I digress. Either way, she has information from a book, and perhaps if she was a maid of Arlen, then she like found a book that Arlen wrote, maybe even a children's book, which could explain the fairy aspect, and she read it, got inspired to see the stars like Arlen. Which doesn't make sense because, like, apparently Rachel is on the outside already. This is already getting complicated. This would mean, of course, that Rachel is just like a random.
Yeah, that's the one that we've
like,
always been talking about.
ultimately,
Like,
she's
if
not
the stars
some,
are
like,
outside, why would she want to go in the tower to chase the stars?
Yeah.
That's why after this video we have to watch the one that's titled "Did Arlene ever actually go outside?"
Okay.
All right, you're like already planning ahead.
person in the tower, but the other theory is quite the opposite because the other common
I
theory
can
I
imagine
always
James
hear is
being
that
the
Rachel
Charlie
is the
Day meme in a week.
Bro, that was low key me the whole first time, like the first section of our reading.
Yeah, but like by the time that we do more videos, you're gonna be like, look, guys, look, I got this whole board here. I've watched 5
Ready.
videos, 6 videos, whatever it is.
the daughter of Jihad. Guys, she has blonde hair and blonde yellow eyes, right? She's obviously Jihad's daughter and all that. People think that Jihad
We've never
That theory did come out of my
considered-
mouth at some point.
Did it?
Did it?
Yeah, and then it pissed me off, and I said, I hope to God that's not the case.
The only true.
But then her and
Uh,
Wagner were on screen together, and I said, no, the yellows are different. It can't be the case.
Okay.
Because Wagnon is Jihad's son.
isn't really like a simp and that him and Arlen were actually in love, or some other darker ideas about her being the daughter of Arlen and Jihad. But either way, we see the Jihad symbol in the cave. Like, clearly there's something with Jihad and
Is
Rachel
that
and Bomb.
is that
So people
impossible
think,
to think?
oh,
What?
That like Arlen had Jihad's kid at some point?
I'd be surprised.
It only works if Jihad is a sexual predator, and I don't know if SIU has the balls to write that in. Or it could be one of those things where V has been a villain the entire time, and Jihad was like actually truly in love with her, and she was in love with him. But the version of history that we were told isn't the version of history that actually happened. Because that would actually, oh my god, that would fit super well. Because
Because
the
think
whole
about it,
thing
right?
with
Okay, look,
Gustang rewriting
if
history.
Jihad could have Gustang change the history, and it's
Uh-huh.
like, but no, that wouldn't work out in his favor. Because why would he paint himself as the villain?
I mean,
But again, if you're going back to the whole thing that like Arlen thinks that Bomb is a monster, and again, if she knows that V's in there and he's the monster, maybe she didn't choose V, and maybe that's why he killed himself.
Maybe that's why he's such a dick to his kid.
I don't even think he acknowledges him as his son.
Our meeting V is like the same way I feel about the fucking avatars in our campaign.
Too soon.
I had such high expectations for them, bro, and like we just meet him and we're like, "You're a fucking prick! Like, why are you like this?"
Never meet your heroes, bro.
I know, man. Keep LeBron away from me.
I don't like the idea of finding out that like Jahad was like the good guy the whole time. I don't like that idea.
I don't think so. I don't.
It's like yeah, it could be it's a whole like switcheroo, whatever.
Find it out on his deathbed, like after Bomb kills him.
Yeah,
I have a quesadilla somewhere, and I'm going to find it. You guys can keep talking. I can't hear you, but
okay.
I can't respond.
Yeah, like with him, like say Bomb and him fight, whatever. Bomb ends up dying. And the truth is, it's like the whole time, like if you look at this all these events through this perspective, you see that I was actually the good guy the whole time. Like,
well, that's
get
every
it.
Story, bro.
I guess, but it's like, I don't know. I was like, it would feel the rest of the story feels a little more like cheap, where it's like, all this was kind of for what? You know what I mean?
Well, for me, the end game is just to keep climbing the tower. Like, I don't even know why. Like, I know that's not what it's gonna be. It's like, hey, does the tower change after Jahad dies or whatever? Oh. But it's like, to me, that's so like, I want to know about the truth about the tower. I don't really care about the truth about behind Jahad, in my personal taste.
But the main characters be like, oh yeah, actually this whole time y'all were actually just tricked. The whole story, the last 10+ years, you were just being tricked. Like okay.
Because we gotta think about it, right? Like the Jahad from the hidden floor and like and the Jahad from like some of the flashbacks doesn't seem like a bad dude at all. Even the rice pot guy was like he was supposed to be king. Like he had the seeds of a king. Like it just like the way he went about it was all the wrong ways of doing it. Yeah, even if he thought at the time it was a good idea, he just failed.
Well, I mean, the rice pot guardian said like basically kind of implies that Jahad like failed in the sense of like he's a king, but like in a dictator way. Like he's
corrupted. Yeah, like I said, he's
corrupted.
And that's something like the
power changes you.
What Turmeric showed is that like no, what Turmeric and Guzman is showing you is that like these guys at some point had hearts. They had like empathy, compassion for things, and they just slowly like stripped themselves of it because it hurt too much to be dealing with it for so long. So there's a chance Jahad is similar in a way where like he got rid of his sense of adventure. I don't know, but my point is like I wouldn't be completely surprised if like we find out there is like I don't even want to say it. I don't know. I just think that like I wouldn't be shocked, but I hope it's not that. I hope he goes down as like an actual antagonist, you know, like an actual.
Because there's that whole like saying, like where it's like, you know, power or money doesn't change you; it makes you who you actually were. And like, that's how I see such family heads. You know, it's like power. Like, yes, like stuff happens to them, but stuff happens to everybody. You know what I mean? Like, that's the point of Bomb. Where Bomb is going through all this stuff, but he's still the good guy in the day. You know what I mean?
It seems to me like all of the family heads are a very good example of the phrase "absolute power corrupts absolutely," because they were all like decent people, and then they became greedy and jaded and like afraid of their own selves.
Like you don't ask to become a god if you're normal, respectful. Yeah, you know, like, you don't ask to become a god. Want to be a god. That being said, so does V, but that's my point.
Yeah, bro. The V that we've met has been like ominous as hell, bro. Like, there's no reason to like him yet.
There's not.
He's just like the rest.
To be honest, even the way he interacts with the other family heads in the flashbacks, seems like he's just kind of like using them. Like he's just kind of like manipulate. He's a manipulator, I think, from like, to be honest, from like day one.
It can be taken. I think it could be taken that way. I don't think it's like a wrong thing.
I didn't see it that way when we were reading it, but like
bad from reading them, it changes.
But I could definitely see like that being the case. I'm choosing to believe that he was cool back then, but as he got stronger, things changed.
looking back, remember when they're like all fighting these robots and like on the verge of dying? V is literally just in the rice pot, like him just doing his own thing.
That's true.
And when they're like, "Yo, can we destroy the power source?" He's like, "No, no, no, no. I need this."
Okay, hear me out though, right? Lesser extent, like,
Very
you know, the characters you play in your story and campaigns are similar to V. Like, you know, no matter what extent,
How
we
so?
we can be dying of doing whatever the fuck you. Like, I'm gonna go do this thing, and I want to. That's all it is. For the day, Luffy, at the end of the day, Luffy, he's selfish. He'll do what he wants to do,
Mm.
regardless of whatever, you know, regardless of whatever's going on, going on around him.
Yeah.
Is that evil?
No,
Is
he's
Goku
right.
evil?
Low key, he's a piece of shit. He's selfish as hell, bro.
So like that, in
But you
that
can't be
sense,
mad
it's
at him,
like
bro.
if you
So
said
hold
then,
on, son.
same thing with V then,
I know you're
right?
beating this guy's ass, but I'm gonna give him the sensu bean so he can fight back a little bit.
So
Go
force
on,
you to
man.
get
Just
stronger.
Finish fighting him in a fair fight. All right.
What if like Jihad and Arlen were like in love or like they were childhood friends, like I kind of tend to believe? It helps explain why Jihad did what he did, and it also explains why Rachel might be a bit jealous
Hold on,
of Bomb.
pause.
If Bomb
Danny, is this a childhood friends don't get chosen at the end type of fucking thing situation going on? V was the new guy.
What do you mean?
Because you know what I'm saying, like potentially like Jihad was in love with her because he was a childhood friend, but she chose V.
Oh,
Just like in most rom coms, it's
that's
like
true.
the,
That's true.
the, the childhood friend doesn't
never
win.
wins. Never wins.
We're just seeing the aftermath of that where he's like, "Oh, I don't get to have her. Nobody can."
World domination. Yeah, world domination.
World domination, bro.
Bomb is her brother, right? Then it could explain like Bomb is getting everything. He was born powerful and he's getting like all this attention. But she thinks, wait, I'm the one in the prophecy. Like, I'm a child of Arlen too, and a child of the King of the Tower. Like, I deserve some of this respect, I guess, or some of this like attention. And we know that she's attention hungry. She does it all the time with Bomb, trying to get him to follow her. You may be wondering, like, how could she be a daughter of Jihad? Because that's why the princesses exist. Like, Jihad can't have kids. One theory that kind of explains this is that kind of how Wang Nan may be like a clone of Jihad. He may represent like a part of Jihad, almost to the degree of like Gustang storing his memories in a book and Tramrai storing his memories inside Leviathan, right? Maybe Jihad stores his memories inside of people. And this could explain, like, maybe Wang Nan represents the adventurous side of Jihad. Karaka could be some other kind of side of.
I feel like that. I never really thought about that because we always would try to figure out like
the adventurous
how these
side
dudes are
of Jihad.
clones and all that
Karaka
stuff.
Oh, I thought about it. I thought about it when they introduced the concept of the red light district.
Well, what?
When they introduced the concept of like Jihad throwing all this shit away into the red light district.
You're right. They threw in memories. Is what you said.
Mm.
Okay, continue.
Does this drawing stem from like anything, or just like this? People think this is like this
fan art.
situation. Fan art.
Fan art.
That's fan art.
Yeah, but we all agree this is real.
That's the type of shit I've been thinking the
some
whole
other
time.
kind
Though.
of side of Jihad. I'm not sure what it would be. Maybe just, I don't know, something a little more sinister, perhaps. I'm not sure. And then Rachel would be the jealousy of Jihad, some kind of uglier side of him, which I think is a bit on the nose, but is still a fun idea nonetheless. Those are the two most common theories, just briefly, but the one that I
That'd be
think
so
is pretty
crazy,
interesting,
bro.
and what
Right. So if she's important, I'm gonna get mad. The more important she
No,
is,
think about it. No, think
I'll
about
be
it. Think
mad.
about it. If she really is like the jealousy of Jihad, right? To hate Bomb, the son of the
V?
man and woman that he loved, the woman he loved, and the man that he hated, she would automatically hate Bomb.
The lore accurate.
would be more accurate.
It would be.
Now, I have a few questions here.
What could they be? You gotta learn how
I
to
fucking
swallow.
forgot. I forgot. I was chewing so loud, my fucking train of thought got interrupted, bro. There's brisket in these quesadillas. It's delicious.
Oh yeah.
a lot of you mentioned in my previous video is that Rachel is the true child of V and Arlen. Now I know it sounds crazy.
The prophecy.
How does
that was my
make sense?
question. What fucking prophecy?
That
No.
somebody will come back into the tower to take out the king.
Yeah.
Why would she think it's her?
Well, that's the theory he's talking about. Like if she's the son or if she's the daughter of Arlene, she's like I'm the child of prophecy.
I mean, the prophecy is told to us. It's just been a few months since we read it. But the prophecy is
Pull it
told
up.
to us.
Yeah, that's why even like not Jin Sung. Yin what's the blonde dude's name again?
Han Sung Yu.
Han Sung Yu. Remember his like hidden floor character was like, yo, Idan, this kid's coming. Like Fug is even though like the reason they even have them is because he's a prophecy child.
How the fuck did Rachel get involved with Fug? Oh, because she knew Rachel or she knew Arlene on the outside.
That or because remember she's running with Ghost and he's a part of Fug. So who knows? What are we doing?
There
now?
you go. Basically, is this.
Kid. But okay.
That's basically it.
So why would the fuck would it be Rachel?
Remember, this is him just saying like that people are theorizing if she's the daughter, that would explain the line of like it should be me, not him.
Yeah, I was about to say because I remember Rachel saying that it should have been her.
And
But
that
she's
only
just,
works
at the time I was like, she's just crazy.
Yeah, if she believes like she's the daughter of Arlene, maybe that's why she believes like it should have been me. Yeah, to zoom in on that shit.
Yeah. Bam is okay. Everyone keeps talking about the prophecy of the one who's blessed by God and the thorn that will kill the king. This one is just post the prophecy itself.
The prophecies, we already know what the prophecy is, man. I don't know why.
So this is for James. Like get the full thing. Why is it like occurs with Rachel? Like why she thinks
this guy-
why she thinks it's about her.
We discussed in my last video that Bomb's body was like inhabited by the outside god, but that would mean the original child died, so how could Rachel be the child of V and Arlen? The theory isn't that the body of the child is Rachel, it's that the soul of the original child was Rachel. So the theory goes that like Bomb was killed by Jihad, Arlen tried to resurrect him, but Bomb's soul wasn't there anymore, so instead the outside god implanted Bomb's body with a new soul. The theory goes that the original child's soul was actually Rachel's soul in some way. Perhaps Arlen, trying to resurrect the child, she attempted it 24 times on her own, and with every attempt, the soul kind of grew more and more detached from the original body.
That's why he's the 25th
And when she made
bomb.
that pact, finally, with the outside god, that was the 25th attempt, 25th bomb, right? And then Rachel is instead the original child.
Theory. Okay.
The soul.
I
The
like
soul
that one.
ends up wandering into a different
Yeah,
body.
you gotta remember, this a lot
I'm
of
not really
stuff
sure.
is
This is the part of the
theory.
theory that's like hard to explain. Like maybe it's connected to the Jihad theory too. I don't know. It's a little much, but either way, that Rachel is the original child. There's a few things to back this up. Rachel is convinced that she is the one in the prophecy. We know the prophecy is about Arlen's child. Why would Rachel be convinced that she's the one in the prophecy if she isn't convinced that she's Arlen's child? If there is a relation, like a blood relation between Rachel and Bomb, I think this goes a long way towards kind of not justifying Rachel, but explaining her actions, right? If she was an ordinary person, totally detached from Bomb, and she was just super jealous of him, it's kind of hard to understand why she's so evil, I guess. You know, there's not much of an explanation there. But if she's just as likely to be the child in the prophecy, and maybe even like Bomb being the outside god isn't the one in the prophecy, she might feel this insane, this large amount of jealousy and this.
Let's say that Rachel is the child of prophecy, right? She is prophecy, and Bomb isn't.
Okay.
Her still losing and dying would still make this the death, if anything, more satisfying to me.
I agree.
Because she was important,
her
and
because,
she still just gets fucking slimed. Like, oh, fuck yeah,
one of the
fuck
things
you.
you pulled up said that the prophecy was that the child would devour the tower. And in Rachel's greed, if she gained power, I could see her destroying everything.
Yeah.
So I could see it.
This desire to be like, no, guys, it's me. Like, he looks like that original child, but it was actually me that the prophecy was talking about. That I can actually see why. Like, again, she's a horrible person. I can see why she would do what she does if she truly believes, and she knows it to be true, that she was that original child. but instead, this fake child is the one that received all the powers, is getting all the attention, and deep down, she believes she's actually the one. And maybe she's right. She has the connection to Arlen. She has this kind of almost even similar eyes to Bomb. You could even go that far. I don't know. It's been mentioned, right? The symbol in the cave. There's a lot going on that does show clearly Rachel isn't a nobody, but is she the original child? When Garam is talking about the original story of V and Arlen's child, she uses pretty gender-neutral terms. The face of the baby is hidden. Then once it's resurrected, she refers to Bomb, so maybe SIU is sneakily trying to imply something different about the original child. Who knows? And then once we get that whole story from Garam, it hard cuts to Rachel, who says that she's the one in the prophecy. I think, even if she's not the original child, SIU is trying to tell us Rachel is deeply and intricately connected to this prophecy. The alternative is that Rachel was just dead wrong, and like, she did all this for no reason, which I feel like that's not a good explanation, right? Like SIU loves Rachel. He's said that she's his favorite character.
Oh,
Let me pause.
in a stream months ago, I mentioned this possibility and how mad I'd fucking be if it was true. Except if you recall that or not, I was like, bro, it's like that's some shit that would happen.
Yeah, I mentioned like months ago. I was like, yeah, because I've seen this video before. I had mentioned that like SIU said Rachel's his favorite character, and then you're like, fuck that, I hate that.
Me too.
Oh.
Like, obviously, he feels confidently that Rachel has an interesting story. And if her whole story is just, I'm jealous of Bomb because, I don't know, I took care of him for so long and I think it should be me, doesn't explain enough. There's not enough there. The weirdest thing for me, the most like inexplicable thing with Rachel is that she wants to see the stars.
I don't agree with that because with the whole thing tower being like, you know, like it's about desire. The whole tower kind of has the whole thing. Her desire being that strong to me fits the story and the themes of it personally.
Yeah, I personally thought that even without any of these intricate background theories, that Rachel's just raw selfish nature was enough in and of itself.
Yeah. Because everyone's just driven by their own desires in this tower. So hers being so powerful, to me, is plenty in that sense.
She wants to go outside and see the stars, which we know is the exact phrasing and wording from Arlen. So another connection between Rachel and Arlen. But it's strange because apparently they were in the outside. Like Rachel's idea of seeing the stars and seeing the sky is to enter the tower where, as Yurik has said, like, this place kind of sucks. Like, Yurik wants to leave. For some reason, Rachel thought that the best way to see the stars and sky was to enter the tower where there is no stars and no star and no sky. It's so weird, unless she's speaking metaphorically. But Arlen, who we know she's connected to, was definitely not speaking metaphorically, very literally talking about her homeland, the sky of her homeland, the stars of her homeland. Clearly, that's what Rachel's after. It's so weird and inexplicable unless there's a deeper connection between Rachel, Bomb, and Arlen. And again, Rachel says, like, I don't know what the connection is between you and Arlen. Like, what does that even mean? Like, why wouldn't she know? There's so many questions. Like, I feel like the more I think about it, even from a theory perspective, the more questions I have.
Okay, I'm editing this and I remembered a scene from chapter 597 of Tower of God where the person, the navigator that Bomb's team is trying to use to reach the Sprout, the navigator ends up saying that Bomb, describing it, opening the door and saying, it originally was not you. And then later on, when Bomb uses the second thorn, the navigator says, I knew it, they were not promised. It originally was not you, and that they were not promised. I don't know. Seems pretty interesting.
I mean, ultimately,
So is he
all
saying
of
that, like,
this
Rachel
could
was
be
the promised
looking
one?
way too far
Not
into
sure.
it.
I don't
Like,
know.
Rachel could just be an ordinary person from the outside, and maybe that's the point of her character. That she isn't some grand. She doesn't come from some grand heritage. She isn't some like super important character who comes from a super important backstory.
That's the
Maybe
bitch.
she really is just a maid who worked for Arlen and ended up becoming jealous of Bomb because she felt deserving, after everything that she did, she felt deserving of Arlen's love and attention instead of Bomb. And honestly, maybe that's the most interesting spin of all. Rachel ends up being like the most human character in a tower full of like flame-wielding, lightning-bearing, gods who are fighting each other for positions of power. Maybe Rachel being the ordinary individual is what's the most interesting of all. I don't know. I kind of like that idea too, even if I do think a part of me craves the idea and craves the information about why Rachel did what she did, because a lot of it is pretty extreme. We can't discount the fact that Rachel is special. I mean, and Dorsey mentions it in season 1, that there's this kind of void, this kind of like weird aura that Rachel has. But ultimately, Rachel is immensely jealous of Bomb, and I think there will be a good reason for it. Thanks so much for watching. My battery is dying, so like and subscribe. Shout out to all my patrons. You guys.
You said the Arlene one?
I think so. That one or the Truth About the Red Light District.
Yeah,
Or the Bomb and V one.
Bottom right.
Alright, it's official Arlene
After
thing, then
reading
we'll cut off into something else.
Eric Mizzino #1 fan translation in Brazilian Portuguese. The language doesn't really matter, but it's still cool to get those different perspectives. I've been thinking, what if Arlen never left the tower? Oh my god, we're 5.
If this discusses the Yorick Mazino's backstory stuff, do y'all care?
I mean, it's just gonna be the first couple chapters. I don't think it matters too much.
I don't care.
Seconds in and we're already
you've already
talking
read the
about
first book,
Arlen.
right?
This is Arlen.
Yeah, the
I
first,
feel
like,
like
10,
has
15.
got to be like the character with the most theories, right? Like everything revolves around Arlen to some degree
So
or another.
different
Let's
without the
find
long
out.
hair.
Okay, so what if Arlen found a way to get to the red garbage dump? Okay, that's the angle. Since it's described as that place in between floors that might technically make it considered to be outside the tower. I do like the idea that the red light district, red garbage dump, that area is kind of a miscellaneous floor, aka like not even a floor. Like it's kind of outside the bounds of administrators and maybe
Look at the back
Shinsu,
rooms.
kind of like the Floor of Death. Floor of Death lost their administrator. The Shinsu kind of went wild. I do really like that idea. The centerpiece here is to explain all of Bomb and Rachel's backstory. In this theory, Rachel is one of Jihad's pieces that he scattered there. Oh wow, we're back. Oh dude, this is a blast from the past. We're doing Rachel Jihad theories. Let's go. Which would explain that she never saw the stars, even being from the outside. Wow. That is a very good point. She is from the outside, she took care of Bomb, and yet that's the weirdest thing. She's so desperate to see the stars, and yet it's like, girl, like, if you want to go see the stars, why are you entering the tower, the place without stars? You were already on the outside. Now we know that Arlen, for example, loved seeing the stars of her homeland in that very same floor.
Is it a chance that Bomb and Rachel started off in the red light district?
I think so. But it'd be
You
weird
know,
that Wagnon wouldn't recognize him. Oh, but Wagnon's missing memories.
But if the cave that they're in has the 3 eyes of Jihad, and then I think Wagnon is first seen on garbage that also has like a wall with the 3 eyes.
I feel like, I mean, like I think once you see like Bomb in that cave, you see like Rachel like kind of pop out of that hole. I feel like he would have made the lights red. It's like a light hint, you know?
Because the light is yellow. It looks like
Yeah,
sunlight.
true.
Maybe they're just from a place where the sun never sets.
Floor of Death
Like,
chapter, we see that Rachel
Mexico.
is like, Arlen, I'm the one in the prophecy. It's like 240, I think, episode 240 of season 2.
What?
What?
The sun never sets in Mexico?
You ever seen Mexico at night?
Yeah.
I've only seen it during the day.
All right.
And somewhere around there. But
Yeah,
like,
it's actually not even
ultimately,
true,
It
bro.
does give me
The
weird
one time I
vibes
saw
of, like,
Mexico,
Rachel.
it was nighttime.
Yeah, I assumed you were kidding, bro.
Yeah.
Maybe metaphorically wanting to see stars, then you add in all the recent stuff, all the recent lore you've been getting. But I do like the idea that, especially because there's so many mysteries regarding how like Rachel ended up taking care of Bomb. What was it like when she left that cave? Because we know every single day Bomb said, please stay, Rachel, and she said, nah, I got places to be, Bomb. I got things I gotta do. You have to stay, but I gotta go. And it's like, what was she doing when she left that cave? This would also explain why there was a jihad symbol in Bomb's cave. Very good point. And I think the image of Rachel being mistreated by someone, if you don't remember, this is one of the weirdest panels in Tower of God, and it wasn't included in the anime as far as I can remember. There's a panel during the Crown game after Hua Ryun injures Rachel and then Bomb like jumps in front of her for a second attack. There's a panel of Rachel, someone grabbing Rachel's hair and like pulling her hair. It's pretty graphic actually for this, even for season 1. And it's like, what does this mean? When she leaves the cave, are there things that are happening to her? Is she some kind of subordinate of somebody else? Was this before she was taking care of Bomb? Why is Bomb seemingly seeing this image? It's so bizarre. Like, is that supposed to be Bomb seeing that image, or is that just for us, the audience? It is so weird. Could explain why she kept Bomb hidden from the outside, if not because of the other jihad pieces to protect him. Wait a sec, so this is saying that Bomb's cave is inside the red carpet? Wait, okay, I didn't put that together. So not only is right, so the cave, so that means Bomb wasn't on the
reaction in real
outside.
time is so funny.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Like, he's
finding a
awake?
missing link here. The outside god is a missing link. If we're supposed to take Garam's story seriously, then how does this explain the outside god's involvement? I'm very curious because there's this other figure that resurrects Bomb, apparently. There's a lot of theories around how that happens.
Not only
So
does it
how is
resurrect
that
Bomb, but it's
explained
clearly
if
living in
Bomb was
Bomb.
in the red light district alongside all the other people like Wongnan and Bellery?
Wasn't the theory that it was the Blue Thursa?
Yeah, I don't even think it's a theory, because I think once the red Thursa gets explained and he takes it into his body, it solidifies what the blue one is.
Assumedly, I don't know. The flaw in this theory. Okay, I should just shut my mouth. The flaw in this theory is that she got help from the outside god, which would mean she only got outside. I just dropped my phone. Okay, so yeah, I do think that is a flaw, right? Unless, again, we know Garam was changing things, hiding facts, like maybe like there was some more stuff. Maybe outside god doesn't mean what we think it means. There could be more going on there. It's not as simple. Because like the current theory is that the outside god is another Axis, alongside Pentaminum and the others, but we don't know that for sure, right? We don't know that for sure. We don't know how the resurrection happened. We don't know what Arlen exchanged. We don't know like where Arlen is right now.
They just said words that I think only Frankie would know the meaning of, and I need Frankie to explain them.
The access powers. There's a video
Talk
about it.
World War II?
I can't explain it as well as he probably could.
Okay, can we watch the video next then?
Right there, literally the second one.
Now, right? Like if Arlen went to the red light district, then is she still there? There's like this is a cool theory, but it does bring up. I think.
Oh, sorry. To get you a little is the access powers are people that like could basically they make stories like they're almost like gods, I guess, from what I remember. But like they have their own individual stories and they're like an access power for some. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it's something like that.
Okay.
More questions than answers. Okay, but there is a response here. To counter this, I would say, based on the Uric Mizzino chapter I referenced earlier, that the outside god, aka Pentaminum, already a pretty interesting theory, if they're the same, was inside the red carpet.
Is that the guy that y'all keep talking about?
That's Minium?
That's Pentaminum. Yeah.
Alright. Now, I'm not going to lie. After seeing that word written down, I don't think either of you are pronouncing that right.
Pentaminum is what he says, yeah.
Yeah, he's wrong as fuck. I think your pronunciation is way closer. I don't think it's also right. But we've been calling him Phantominium for this long. I'm sticking with that because it's way cooler than what he said.
Yeah, it's Phantominium.
Well, that would still just be
Pentaminum.
Pentaminum.
But I'm still calling him Phantominium.
It
That's
sounds
cooler.
dope as hell.
That sounds way cooler.
It's like calling Arcraptor. I think it's a Cropter. I'm calling it Arcraptor because that's cool.
It's a Craptor or something like that. So I'm like, nah, it's Arcraptor, bro.
Arcraptor was cold as hell.
Yeah.
R.I.P. the goat, bro.
R.I.P. bro.
Pretty interesting theory.
Only sweet and sour character. I was like, I need to know more about his story, bro. I hope his daughter comes back into play at some point.
I hope his daughter's one of the princesses.
Or even his baby mama.
I really think his daughter is a princess.
I'd be sick.
I believe it.
We're going to see a princess with one of those earrings, and it's going to be so sick.
Or very sad.
Yeah, because she's going to be a bitch, like Phil and Lil. Oh wait, Shillenlo. Sorry, Phil the Rugrats.
Same was inside the red garbage. Everybody's just inside the red garbage dump. Okay.
And that's why I love theory. I'm not because if everyone's there, I don't think that's fun. You know,
Yeah.
poor Gage getting played every single time.
Interesting, considering that there is a big time gap between Arlen leaving the tower and the start of the series. Well, we know that Pentaminum enters the tower, so maybe he enters the tower and then enters the red light district. I mean, honestly, I think what would be an interesting twist is if the red light district is in some way outside the tower, like maybe it like leads outside. Like I think a more refined version, not to say this theory is like not refined, but if I was to put my own spin on this theory, it would be that the red light district is a way outside, and maybe it's like, so it's like a fracture in the tower, and it's a loophole zone, like this person said. It's not like technically a part of the tower, and so you can use it to potentially leave the tower. Now, that being said, what I think the only problem with that is like, why isn't everybody leaving? But it would explain a lot. Like, Gustang and Yurik are people who have researched how to leave the tower for so many years, and they've never found a way. Guides have never found a way. But if the red light district has this secret exit, it would explain a lot, because Gustang and Yurik don't know about the red light district. Gustang did at one time, but then erased his own memories. So it would explain that, I think. But then the problem is, why doesn't everybody else in the red light district leave? Maybe it's a secret thing, I'm not sure, but I think that would at least tie up a couple of the weird questions. But I do like the idea of using the red light district in connection to the Bomb and Arlen stuff, but maybe it not being the sole location, because I have so many questions if that is the case. That's all, folks. Thanks for reading this newcomer crazy theory. Hey, shout out to Guerrero Rex. Guerrero, I hope I'm saying your name right. Shout out. I really enjoyed this theory. Like, honestly, I think that the red light district is going to be a huge part of not just the lore of Tower of God, but season 4.
The basis of this theory is
season
that
4,
Arlene is still
we're
in
gonna
the
bring
towers.
back Wongnan. If we don't, then I'm gonna freaking riot. My dude has been done so dirty. We're gonna bring back Wongnan, Karaka.
Is Wongnan dirty? What about
all
Bong
the
Bong
clones.
Merchant?
We're gonna meet all those Revolution people
That actually is so sad, bro.
again. I
Well,
think
turned
that
my goat
teaser of
into a
Revolution at
gimmick.
the end of season 3 was done for a reason. I think season 3 was Traumarized season, Traumarai and Gustang, Lopobia. And then season 4, we're going to dive into Red Light District. At least that's how we're gonna start. That's the vibe, the feeling that I get. It's gonna be connected to V, because V's currently inside of Bomb's body. It's gonna be connected to all the stuff with Arlen and Bomb as well. So I think your theory does lead to some very interesting conclusions. Our next theory is from Estarosa. I love the N profile picture, shout out. How Enryu killed the administrator, aka
N?
how to kill an admin in general. I love the way this is framed.
What is an N profile picture?
I don't know, actually.
From Estarosa.
That's Jihad and somebody.
I love the N profile picture. Shout
I don't know.
What do I mean? Right.
I don't know, bro. I
out.
don't know.
How
Oh.
Enryu killed the
Oh, actually, look at
administrator,
their
aka
name.
how to kill an admin in general.
Back to the little picture. Estarosa the Prince. Do we know anybody that's a prince?
No.
Maybe
Shout
from the
out.
show.
How Enryu
Maybe say it's like more like that's their name and like they're referring to themselves as like one of the princes.
Do we want to finish this
Rosa
up
is a
with
character from Seven Deadly Sins. It's Meliodas' brother.
Ah.
And no, I want to go to the next episode personally.
Yeah, because I mean, do we care how he killed the admin? I don't know if the lore matters for me in this, to this extent.
Not at the moment.
killed
I'm curious about
the
other things.
administrator.
You're like, I want to know what the axes are. Please, please, please.
The Yurik Mizuno spin-off series has officially introduced us to Pentaminum. We already knew
Oh. Perhaps we should not then.
series
This is why I
has
wanted to get into the Yurik
officially
Mizuno thing.
introduced us to Pentaminum. We
Ah.
are
Danny, stop pressing
No,
play.
I'm not listening to what you said.
Oh, were you not listening?
No.
Oh, check in, brother.
3 seconds, 2 seconds. Jesus Christ.
Keep your eyes on the ball.
I think I want to do the lore dump, the Wagnon, Jihad, and the Red Light District one.
How long is it?
19.
It's only 20 minutes. Okay.
It's been a long
I was
time
really expecting
since
a
we
lore dump
first
video to
heard
be
the
15
term
minutes long.
Red Light District. Ever since
think he
the
does it 'cause
start
it's
of
like-
season 2.
20 minutes for this subject, and then another video is like another 20 minutes about different lore.
Yeah.
Other people do like when they do lore dumps, it's like all the lore in one video. But we'll see.
with Wang Nan, the supposed prince of the red light district, and Repalista's kind of cryptic warnings and the title of that segment, that section of season 2. But we finally got some theories confirmed. More importantly, maybe not even just saying theories confirmed, we learned what the red light district really is. At least we think so. This last chapter, 640, chapter 640 of Tower of God, it's been a day. I've had time to process it, and yet I'm still just as frazzled and razzled and dazzled as I was when I first read it, because this is the result of setup from SIU, and the way that he's pulled all this together is pretty awesome. So the first thing I thought when I read this chapter was, oh, the place that Blossom destroyed was the Red Light District. I'd actually totally forgotten that we had learned that the Red Light District had burned to the ground, according to a Wangdan flashback when he talks about his nanny to Karaka. But we do know that Blossom destroyed a place. We then learned that this is a precursor that leads to the events of the sort of discovery and usage of the true Red Light District. The place that Blossom burned to the ground, we don't actually know fully what it is, but what I do find interesting is that we know in the blog posts that apparently Blossom has the capability and power to wipe out an entire floor if she wants to. That is how much control she has over Shinsu. It's possible that this is a reference to what she did and what was revealed in this chapter, and maybe it was an accident. Like, her Shinsu control is so insanely potent and even maybe wild, right? The capabilities and the possibilities are almost endless, perhaps, that she regrets it. And that's why she chooses to enter her dreams and spend most of her time sleeping. It's a beautiful way to explain why her family, like even her descendants, like Lauro and Cherry La, Irude, why they kind of inherit that.
Wait, hold on.
Oh,
her name is
Cherry La?
Cherry La?
Yeah, I didn't know her name, but y'all caught that she was,
like
that was the same family,
Cherry
right?
La,
Y'all knew that already?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy now that we know who they, because if she's always sleeping and like using her dreams to avoid stuff, it makes sense that her family are sleepy all the time. Cool. I didn't know that. I don't think I caught this the first time I watched this video.
Yeah, we just called her, I think we called her Pinky the whole time from Cherry La.
We've been calling her Pinky, yeah. But Cherry La.
Why her family, like even her descendants, like Lauro and Cherry La, Irude, why they kind of inherit that sleeping capability from her. Maybe in her case, the original like sleepy character, it's because she likes to dream so much and she prefers to spend time in her dreams, which means she doesn't develop or mature as quickly as the others. Bit of a tangent there, but I found it really interesting. The place that she destroyed leads to Gustang working with Traumarai to try to resurrect those people and rectify his wife's mistake, because he's torn between following his own moral code and the will of the people, even if Traumarai views them as insignificant, versus taking care of his family, his wife, and his future generations. And he tries to do a middle ground. He tries to do both, and it leads to the destruction of both, which I think is very beautiful and poetic writing from SIU, where he tries to help his wife and help the people, but Traumarai, because he's a bit of a dumbass, he ends up creating a disgusting zombie amalgamation of the people instead. He brings them back. The wording here is talking about how he resurrects the spirits of these fallen warriors who were sleeping and they were in peace, they were resting, but now they're in eternal torment. Traumarai did kind of make them immortal, but in an immortal misery and not these like angelic beings that Gustang was envisioning. And it reminds me a lot of Envy from Full Metal Alchemist. This leads Gustang to kind of be traumatized by this event. Like, again, the decisions, we see this in an earlier chapter where he says, every time I try to make the right decision, it leads to a bad ending. So current Gustang just doesn't care about it anymore. He knows it's probably going to lead to a bad ending, but at this point, why follow his own, like, why follow what is good if it's going to lead to bad? I might as well just do whatever I want if it's going to lead to bad. Anyway, I feel like we start to see the seeds and the roots of that here, where he's like, no matter what I do, it's bad. So instead, I'm just going to run away from it. I'm going to erase it. And it's not as simple as just, you know, forget a thing here and there. I love the line where he says, I thought it was my first time forgetting something, but now looking back, I had probably done it countless times. But of course, if you're erasing your own memory, you're not going to remember erasing your own memory. So of course to him, yeah, he could have done it 100 times or one time, and he's just as knowledgeable about that. I think that's so cool. So he goes to Jihad, which surprises Jihad, and he says, hey, the red garbage dump, the red trash can you mentioned, I'm in. And we get this sick shot of the family leaders, and we finally learn that the red light district is supposed.
The hair looks like Yuri.
Oh,
That's why.
the fire girl. No, Yeon.
That's Yeon?
Yeah, pretty sure. If not, it's Ha, but I'm pretty sure it's Yeon. Actually, it's like Ha.
Tommy, bro.
It's like Ha. Oh, urine. Isn't it Yeon urine?
No.
And then if it's not, then it's definitely Yuri's ancestor.
Okay.
Family leaders, and we finally learn that the red light district is supposedly and apparently
Yeah, it's Ha.
a space between
Yuri,
the
huh?
layers of the tower. The outer tower is like a lot of residential
Nice
area, a
fact
lot of
checking.
unexplored territory. A lot of like people native to the tower live there. And then the middle area can be a residential area as well, but it's in between the outer and the middle. But apparently, even in between those layers, there's also this void almost with this red light that incinerates and burns everything within it like an incinerator. Gusting literally says that Jihad called it an incinerator. This place is supposed. I mean,
But like,
if we,
how do
if we
people
connect the
survive
dots-
that then? You know,
Yeah,
if
'cause
it's really
evolution.
supposed to like.
I think it's
'Cause
more
you
like
think, like,
a
you know, most-
metaphor than an actual like flame. You know?
I don't. I think it's a legitimate thing, and I think that that's the reason that the people from the red light district think they're strong enough to stand up to the gods of the tower, because they've evolved to live in an environment that is supposed to literally kill them.
Oh,
That's the
possible.
theory I've been running with in my head.
Not a bad
I
theory.
mean, there's a
Sure.
possibility that like early on it did kill people, but then like slowly, evolution over
Mhm.
thousands of years and shit. Because
Because look at how rough the captain looks every time we see him, and he was like based on Jihad. Jihad's strong as shit.
But he's also. We haven't talked about this enough. The captain had got so buff compared to the last time we saw him.
He did, bro.
Yeah, bro is Jack.
Because when he started getting to Doan and Child, that motherfucker looked kind of like Wagner. You know?
He was young. He was a little guy.
But also like when he was talking to Mashini, he also looked kind of small. I think it's like he's just out of his clothes. He's just that jacked.
Or again, we had the theory of there's a
Someone
difference
else?
between the boss and the
Yeah.
captain.
Yeah, that's really annoying. 'Cause it could just be an error, but it's not.
here and assume that the red light is significant in that it's talking about this place that people are discarded to, like sorcerers and guides that make wrong turns and give bad advice, and everybody that gets in the way of what they want,
Yeah,
fundamentalists.
like Hwaryu, she'll
That
end up
is
in
just
there.
toss him in there and it's like they never even existed. See, it's not like Gusting is forgetting, because if Gusting simply forgot about it, someone else
I
is
forgot to
gonna
ask, or I don't
it, and
remember
so
if
it's
you
still-
answered. Are you still fucking with Hwaryu at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah,
girl.
still your girl.
Still my girl. Fortunately. Rather die.
Till the wheels fall off.
really happened. But if Gusting forgets about it and everybody who remembered it and everything that links to it is erased from existence, it basically didn't happen, right? Like, if no one remembers it and no trace of it exists, did it really happen? We're getting into some philosophy here, but Gusting's moral quandary, his rules and restrictions on himself that he apparently is so bound to, it follows him here, and it kind of screws him over because he still writes about it. He can't reach that area of like no one remembering, it's completely non-existent. No, he still has to record it in the book. He has to. He is the ultimate historian. He cannot bend that part of himself no matter what he does, right? Even though so
But he
much
still
is on the
potentially
line. And what I think is
lies.
so cool about this is that we see when Gusting
He assume that whatever he wrote forever ago was the truth, and he's like, okay, I'll write it down, then forget all it existed and hide it away.
So
Yes.
the truth. So the one. Okay, so here's the thing. So say people the history the people in the tower know could be lies.
One
Now, if
thing-
you find the hidden books, is like that's the truth.
so
How
The
many
thing
books
that-
do you think are out there?
that's a good
Because
question.
okay, let's say Trumari has like what, like 3 Leviathan? No, he has the Leviathan
The two of the dragons.
and the three dragons, right? Let's say that's
Leviathan's one dragon, so it's two more.
Jihad has. Let's say it's the boss, the captain, Karaka, Wagner. He has 4. Gustang, we know of 1 for
It's a
sure.
library, bro. Who knows? And
He's got a,
he's the one that that was meant to keep record of everything. So it could be a lot of books.
he has to have the most.
Yeah. We have one in Bomb's head that's not that hasn't explained to us fully. Well, no, actually, most of it has been explained to us. Actually,
Yeah, the book
was
is pretty
the
much the fragments
flashback.
of memories that we've gotten, right?
yeah. So it could be a lot more.
Current Gustang tries to regain his memories from the book. He basically locked himself out of it and says, "We're all sinners." It's a direct reference to this entire chapter talking about the greatest sins of the family heads. Gustang himself included in this. He sees what he did, what he and Traumarai did, and all the events with Blossom and everything as the greatest sin, one of the greatest burdens he has. And it's so good. So good. I don't know. What do you say? It's good. This place is the Red Light District. The way that Hua Ryun in early season 2 talks about Wangnan is that Wangnan is one of the greatest mistakes of the families, right? Something to be discarded. Something that shouldn't have existed. It's all matching up with what we know about the Red Light District. The way that Bellurir talked about where he came from, he talks about how he doesn't remember much about the place, but that there are red lamps that people die under. If this is a garbage dump that things are tossed into,
from the Red Light District?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just totally forgot about
this
that.
red light, I don't know if it's like an administrator thing or what the red light is supposed to signify, but if it just incinerates people, then of course, if you're under the red lamp, you die. Bellurir is being literal when he says the red lamps kill you. And of course, in the Wangnan flashback where he talks about his surrogate mother, he talks about how the place was burned to the ground. Well, if this red light incinerates things, perhaps these little civilizations are built within there. Like, people can still survive if they're careful, and they almost see the red light as this alien thing that's chasing after them. Maybe I'm taking the red light too literally or too significantly, but the way I see it is that you can have a life in there, but if the red light catches you, you're done, right? So maybe like wherever they lived, it really was burnt to the ground. Maybe like it's constantly, everything in there is constantly.
Say that's true, right? Say it's like not constantly on fire, and it's like if you avoid the lamps, you could survive. Maybe that's why Bomb couldn't leave the cave, because it's like ultimate safe. Like if you leave, there's danger, but if you stay here until like you're prophesized to return, he stayed safe.
Yeah, it's possible. I am not a fan of that theory, but I think it makes sense what you're saying.
There has to be something that explained why Bomb couldn't leave the cave.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to keep throwing together stuff.
I mean, it really could just be as simple as at some point somebody told him he couldn't, and so he thought there was danger out there because he was so young. You know what I mean?
Right? Because why would Bomb just not leave? Right?
He seemed kind of like
eventually he leaves.
Was there an exit?
Like ignorant to the way existence works. In the anime, at least, there was a pile of rocks that led up to the crack in the cave, and I guess he was trying to climb out. Yeah, you're right. So how the fuck did Rachel get in there? Man, I don't know. I'll be right back.
Can you hear us?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Because at the end of the day, like, say, okay, Bomb is stuck in the thing. He only knows Rachel when she comes to visit. But at some point, when, the story starts, they're both outside of that cave. Are they not?
No. No, they're in the cave.
So
and then
Bomb opens the door inside, like, through the cave?
Yeah. It's like she opens the door, Rachel goes in, then he opens the door again. Like, he's like leaving the cave, and then she opens the door. I think. Leaving the cave. If I recall correctly. It all happens through the cave.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder what makes him stay in there.
I think there was no exit up until like Rachel came in to that crack. I think there was no exit. I think he was sealed in there.
You think it was sealed? Because I was saying, then how did he get in?
Yeah, I think he was put in there and then he was sealed away. That would also explain the whole jihad symbol thing. It's like it's his seal.
Yeah, he was like, just so you know who did this to you, bitch.
Yeah.
So our new working theory is that they had Bomb in the Gojo Cube.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is that a blizzard? Sonic
Blast.
Sonic Blast. All right.
constantly being burned to the ground. And what I find interesting about Wang Nan's mother here, his adopted kind of his nanny, is that when they escape the red light district, she reveals she never loved him and that she was given a task by the king to take care of the king's seed, and she wishes she could have raised the king's seed more properly. So this is of course directly linking Wang Nan to Jihad, as if we needed that with how similarly they look. But more importantly, at the end of that last chapter, 640, we get the biggest revelation. Eurasia Ann is discovering things. The princess system. She's discovering secrets about Jihad. Traumarai has a bunch of secrets out. Who knows if she discovered some of that? But more importantly, for this, for this context, she discovers the existence of the red light district, and more specifically, that Jihad trapped himself in there. Jihad trapped himself in there. Wang Nan and Karaka and the boss are apparently all, and Bellerir for that record, are apparently all from the red light district. Is it possible that Wang Nan and Karaka and the boss, there's possibly two of them, we don't really know, are all aspects of Jihad? This has been a popular theory for a long time, and it's kind of shocking to me to see one of the longest running theories in the community potentially confirmed in a single chapter. It starts off with Hugo fighting.
Oh, here we go.
All right. My theory is back. So,
Back again.
if you recall, 30 seconds ago in this video, this man was talking about the nanny's conversation with Wang Nan, referring to Wang Nan not as an aspect of the king, a fraction of the king, but the seed of the king, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
I don't think that Wang Nan is Jihad's son. I do think, as I said last week, that he is the son of either the boss or the captain. If they're the same person, he's both of their sons. Maybe they're like lovers, and they made they made Wang Nan. But no, seriously, I think that Jihad put a fraction of himself into the red light district. That aspect of himself developed sentience and made Wang Nan. I don't know if it made Wang Nan and Karaka, or if it just made Wang Nan and then Jihad threw Karaka in there later. But I do think that the dude leading Revolution currently is Wang Nan's father. And I think that will be introduced within the first 40 chapters of season 4. No, because SIU's kind of a dick. So Wang Nan probably won't show up until season 2 of oh, no, no. Arc 2 of season 4. It'll take a while for him to show up. You know what I mean?
Okay, hear me out. When you were talking about the 30 seconds ago, when they're like the seed of the king,
Uh-huh.
what if Jihad is throwing himself into the red light district? Remember, what does the Rice Pod Guardian say? That he has the seed of a king. He literally threw in his
Ooh,
seed.
fuck. That'd be crazy. That would be crazy. Frankie, that's ball. That's
And
ball.
and remember,
I like
Wagner's
that.
like, I'm supposed to be king. Like he has
Yeah.
like this only
That's
his only thing is like,
fucking insane.
because remember, Crocker
That's-
wants to kill Jihad. I don't know what the boss's plans are, but Wagner is like, I'm supposed to be king. Like, that is what
I'm
meant to be.
him.
The seed that was in Jihad is Wang Nan.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Okay.
That's why he's such a dickhead of a ruler now.
Fighting
It's
Michelle.
weird that the
is
seed would
fun
also be the
stuff, and-
adventurous spirit, but
I mean, why
Now, that
does
seems like
everyone
the-
die around him? Because he's the king. They had to die for the king.
The adventurous spirit one has to be the one that talked to Doan and Shaw, in my opinion. That one seems the most like he's
It's-
out there
it's-
with whimsy.
It seems to me though that like that's the king and the captain and the boss are the same guy. That's what it seems like to me so far. That's
That's
how
where I'm
he's
at with it.
talking about it.
And then at the end, we're discovering
but
possibly
internet
the- one
opinion
of
seems pretty 50-50.
the most monumental lore drops in the entire series up until this point. It's insane. And it's thematic as well, though. Because I went back and reread that chapter where Wang Nan, who might be Jihad apparently, is talking to Karaka. And after he shares the story to Karaka, and Karaka's asking for Wang Nan's ring as proof, which I'm going to get to, Wang Nan says, that's why I'm going to be king of the tower, because I want to take down just this Jihad is this awful guy, this city, I can't wait to tear him down from his throne. Imagine the thematic significance of Wang Nan wanting to tear himself down. where he discovers that he is a part of this king that he loathes, right? Going back to the ring thing, why do all these people from the Red Light District have Jahad rings? Karaka was willing. He said, I'll tell you everything, Wangnan. I will tell you everything I know about the Red Light District if you show me your ring. Now, of course, Rachel had the ring at this point. What is insane about this is that we know from Rachel that the rings are the keys to the 135th floor, which means that one of the things that Jahad tossed in there, aside from maybe aspects of himself, are the keys to the 135th floor. This gets even crazier when you discover that it makes sense that Eurasia Ann discovered the princess stuff alongside the Red Light District stuff, because what is the other key, aside from the rings, to the 135th floor? The 13-month weapons, which Jahad intentionally scatters amongst the princesses. The link is so easily there. If Eurasia N is discovering more about the princess system, it's naturally going to lead to the 13 months, which is naturally going to lead to Jahad rings and the other keys and the Red Light District. You could claim that some of this stuff is just coinciding and we're like linking things that don't make sense. I think it makes perfect sense that she's discovering all these things together, and I gotta, again, hats off to SIU. Let's talk about this aspect thing for a second. This theory that Wangnan and Karaka and the boss represent different aspects of Jahad. It makes a lot of sense. When the sword from the hidden floor is talking to Wangnan, he says that he is always sad, but with a smile. I think this is a beautiful way to describe Wangnan. He's a character who has endured countless hardships and yet always tries to be optimistic with his friends, and especially after meeting Team Sweet and Sour and everything. I think, God, Wangnan's such a goated character. I can't believe we got Wangnan lore in this chapter. Significant lore about Wangnan, and we haven't seen the guy in years at this point. A third of the series. Think about that. It's been a third of the series without Wangnan. My boy, I miss him so much. If Wangnan represents the sort of self-loathing or self-guilt of Jahad, or maybe even he has the desire to be king, it's possible that there's some of that mingled in there. The very first time we see Wangnan, he says, I'm going to be king of the tower. I mean, come on. But Karaka could also represent this sort of hatred, maybe. This desire, this jealousy, maybe a little more of the, I don't want to say uglier sides, but maybe a bit more of the aggression, maybe of, or even just the revenge aspect. Karaka was handpicked by Fug to be a slayer. Every slayer in Fug has a target, right? So White's target is Hone. We don't really know who Yama's target is. Some people speculate it could be Traumarai because of his connection to Liphobia. We don't have that confirmed, though, and it would a lot of questions we raised. Regardless, Karaka's target is Jahad. Why would Fug think that Karaka has what it takes to take down Jahad? I love Karaka, but you think Karaka can kill Jahad unless they are aware, and even Karaka himself is aware, that the reason he can take down Jahad is because he is Jahad, or at least a part of him. Then we have the captain, the boss, this kind of gladiatorial champion, he called himself. Maybe a bit more of the adventurous side, more battle hungry. You know, Jahad loved to fight. We see that on the hidden floor. I think a lot of that can be seen in this revolution captain boss character. And of course, there's also the Doan and Cha boss. We don't know if it's the same one. He has a mole. It's kind of weird. He's more manipulative. If there is a fourth one and he's the fourth one, it's totally possible that.
You don't have it.
Hey, time flies. That's been a long time. Go to the mall. Surgery.
He burned that bitch off.
He's more manipulative. If there is a fourth one and he's the fourth one, it's totally possible.
Isn't it possible that's Karaka?
No. I know who it is. Hold on.
You know who?
I know who it is. I'm fact checking. Hold on. Oh, it's not. It's not.
I love the confidence, though.
Who'd you think it was?
I thought it was Wagnon, bro. Because hear me out, right? Wagnon has an entire life that he doesn't fucking remember prior to now.
Yeah. His was like here somewhere.
You think he blacks out? You think he blacks out or what?
No, I think something occurred that caused him to lose all his memories, and that he'll be able to get him back later in the story. I assume it's some type of Shinzu thing.
Shinzu block.
That he represents another aspect of Jahad, even another crazy.
He's not fucking awakened to all his power and shit out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think so. But it would be. It could also be Karaka because we haven't seen Karaka's face.
The part about Wangnan and these other characters is their immortality.
He's just been lying to Doan and Cha that because remember he acts like he's like, I've never met you guys.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be a liar.
Could be a liar.
Big Rocker. He
Big Rock
could
is a
lie.
liar.
Wagnon was stabbed through the heart by Beta. His arm was almost entirely cut off by Joaquin, and all these times, after all these weird things, he was incinerated by Iwa. After all of these moments, he's survived, and the series itself has commented on it and been like, how in the hell did Wangnan survive that? He's just an ordinary guy, supposedly, and yet he's almost essentially immortal. He's been possessed, you know, everything under the sun has happened to Wangnan, and he's fine for it. And Karaka has a sort of immortality as well, albeit because of his armor, potentially. But if they are aspects of Jahad, it makes total sense why they would have this semi-immortality. So one idea is, why did Jahad do this? Why did Jahad toss different parts of himself into this place? Again, it's possible that these are not parts of himself and it's like a cloning thing, but I think if he really did lock himself in there, I think this is the likely explanation, then it's possible he did this to shape himself into the perfect king. He discarded every part of himself that would give him morality or weaken him in some way, and so now he is a flawless, perfect king that will lead
They're finally
the
catching
tower
up to what we were
greater
saying.
heights, or even his friends to greater heights. We don't know the exact timeline. Like, did he do this? Supposedly, or I would assume he did this after the Great War with Arlen and V, so maybe a lot of ugliness that Jahad saw himself, he could have discarded it away, and that ugliness could have formed and become, like, literally clones of himself and these other characters. I think that's the likely explanation. I see there's a lot of stories that I've been playing lately, and there's one in particular, I won't spoil it because it's kind of a new game, but there's this aspect of this where it's like this king or this ruler, they don't want to become, they know that if they remain the way that they are, they won't be able to morally make the decisions that will save their people. And so what do? They erase those parts of themselves to become the king that they need to be. Now, of course, Jahad, not a great king, so I don't know if it worked, but I do think that would make Jahad more sympathetic rather than like, I did all this so I could be evil and live a luxurious life. I feel like there's more to it than that, especially since he's trying to hide the keys to the 135th floor. Why? That's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. Really quick, also, I like that when Wangnan and Karaka are talking in chapter 343, when Wangnan says, oh, I'm from the Red Light District, he takes off the mask, and Karaka's like, oh my god. Like, there's this look of realization.
Yeah.
Just another
Yeah.
cool thing I noticed that links them all together. So what about
Damn,
Belvedere?
motherfucker, you
Belvedere
look
doesn't
just
make a lot
like
of sense
me.
to me. It's kind of one aspect of all this
Also,
that I think
I
is kind of
just thinking about it now. Jinsung gave Karaka the armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jinsung, for some reason, from day one, was cool with Wagner. Just saying.
And
I mean,
Jinsung moves in silence like
I
lasagna.
mean,
So.
didn't Jensen like kind of half-ass like test him, like how see if V has some good or Viola has some good friends,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But why give them the test at all if he's not like
because Viola's his son.
we know it's not his son.
His mom is his son. Yeah, he's the dad that stepped up. All right, nice punk ass daddy V.
It's deeper than blood.
I mean, he did used to beat his
Strange.
ass like all the time.
You don't get it back in blood though. You don't get it back in blood. So
because
Alright.
did does Gusting also have a clone in there, or maybe like Gusting had a bastard that he wanted to get rid of? I don't know. I think that ultimately, I had a fun theory yesterday's stream about like the tattoo on Belire's forehead. The frick is that about? Was that the manifestation of Gusting erasing the memory of that monster, and that's why his forehead tattoo looks like a monster? Rock solid
That's
theory,
interesting.
I will say. Tying it all together, let's bring it back to where it all started with Wangnan. Wangnan is specifically stated by SIU to be old. He's a test taker that's been trying to take this test for years and years and years and years. He's around the same age as Karaka, according to SIU. One of the coolest things was shown to me yesterday. Something that most
We gotta
of you
read those
probably
fucking
have never
blog
seen
posts, bro.
because it wasn't included in the official chapters on Webtoon. There was this sort of bonus chapter that SIU released after Season 1 concluded, but before the start of Season 2, where he answers some questions, he shows some cool, like, backstory elements, stuff we've talked about, like Leiro Ro and Yuri meeting when they were on the second floor, right, taking tests together, and all these, like, fun little tidbits of
Oh
information
shit,
from
Leroy and
SIU.
Yuri took the test together?
And one of the things
That's
that
very
he
cool.
teases is the introduction of Wangnan. And when he introduces Wangnan, the first time we see him, he is laying on a pile of garbage. This blew my mind when I saw it yesterday. I don't know. Are we jumping to conclusions here? Or are you telling me that SIU has had most of this red light district stuff mapped out since over a decade ago? I don't think it's a coincidence
Damn, I
that
figured
the
that's been
very
for, like,
first
over a
time
decade.
SIU decides to tease Wang Nan, he's resting amongst trash, and the sign behind him literally says trash. I don't think it's a coincidence that the place he comes from is known as the Red Garbage Dump, the Red Light District, where if you remain under that light, you are incinerated. So fascinating. I think the writing has been spectacular from SIU, and I'm very excited to see where he takes this. I have faith. He's been cooking lately. That's an understatement. So I'm excited. What are you guys' thoughts? Any theories, ideas? Comment down below. Appreciate all of you, and I'll see you for the next one.
All right. Another video, I want to call it there. It's been an hour and a half.
Um,
I'm
see what
down
other
to
ones
call
there
it.
are. All right,
You
we'll
want the
call it
other
there.
one? Well, actually, look, the access one's only 9 minutes, so you do the access one. Oh no, you said no because it's
Yeah.
Uric stuff. My fault.
Yeah, and it looks like it spoils quite a bit of your stuff because it looked pretty deep in it. Wait, it was 8 months ago. How deep into the your Mizzino?
No, like
chapters was
the
it?
stuff that they're gonna explain is like in chapter like 1.
Oh, Danny, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm fine with it.
All right, let it run.
All right.
17 black. Black.
Something black.
If I see
The
those
Anyway.
guys-
spin-off series has officially introduced us to Pentaminum. We already knew
Antimonium is way better.
who Pentaminum was. It's what made the reveal so exciting. And we also saw some sneak peeks in season 1 here and there, heard about him. So exciting. And we also saw some sneak
trying.
peeks.
The regulars till now have all been extremely strong. Antimonium or Uric, which seems like they got one even.
Qualify for the test.
He invaded Jaha's castle.
in season 1 here and there, heard
Massacred
about
the
him,
best
all
of
that
Jahad's
stuff.
rankers.
But
Damn.
we never knew the full picture. We only heard some things here and there from Han Sung-yu or Yuri. We only knew some things from the blog posts. But now, in Chapter 1 of Uric Mizzino, we get a full, detailed breakdown on where Pentaminum came from, what his goals are, what he chose to do, and where he might be currently. Now, of course, we'll make a whole video on Pentaminum as we have in the past with all of this updated lore information, but today I want to hone in on the most important part of Pentaminum's character. The fact that he is the only known Axis in Tower of God. But what is an Axis? I got a lot of these comments on my previous video talking about the recent lore from the Uric Mizzino spin-off series, and so I wanted to break it down. Now, automatically, I know a lot of you, a number of you, are probably typing in the comments and saying, well, Pentaminum's not an Axis anymore, right? The Axis lore has been retconned. You might be right. However, we do have some evidence that it might not be. I was recently at Anime Expo 2025, and CU was there and did a bunch of signings. We made a whole video about it. You can
It looks like Oblivion when he's old. When he turns old.
Old bleed.
He's Oldly, yeah.
Also,
Definitely
does
check
he
it
have a
out,
Ghost
and
Tongue
what-
cosplay on?
I
Does
think
he?
he does,
We
bro.
do have some evidence that it might not be. I was recently at Anime Expo 2025, and CU was there and did a bunch of signings. We made a whole video about it. You can definitely check it out. And one of the questions
Why are we calling
that
him
a
CU?
fan asked CU, providing video proof as well, is whether or not Pentaminum is still considered an Axis. And according to the video and according to the Redditor, the fan, CU said yes. Shout out to Towns DL for asking CU this question. If I had the chance to ask CU a question, I would have asked if Chang was still dead or not. But ultimately, we don't know if this still means, like, maybe he is still an Axis, but maybe that term
That's what you would
Axis
waste your
has, like,
question. So much
changed meaning.
information.
But either way, like,
Piss
the
me
fact
off.
that CU, like,
Don't piss
seemingly
me
so
off.
enthusiastically, like, agreed, like,
Hey,
no,
man,
he's
that's
still an
his- that's
Axis,
his
like,
guy, that's
is
his guy.
interesting to me. And
I'd
I
asked
wanna
about when we were
assume
fixing
until
Dorsey.
proven otherwise that this Axis lore could still be a part of the Tower of God lore, the Tales user story lore, and Pentaminum's lore. But what even is an Axis? Well, simply put, an Axis is a creator of the world? Of the universe? universe? Pretty simply put, right? Yeah, okay, pack it up. The video's over. Let's go. If you don't know, Tower of God is one of the stories in what is called the Tales user story, which is kind of CU's playground of stories that he can write within. If you don't know, Tower of God wasn't CU's first story. He actually had a number of stories that he had written before, and he considered all of them to be a part of the Tales user story. Most of them have been removed from the internet, aside from a few panels that were saved here and there, but for the most part, Tower of God came along and then became the center point of the Tales user story, but certainly not the only thing. Certainly not the only story. So there's this entire universe of stories that kind of exist separately from each other, that are intentionally left completely apart from one another. They're not connected in any way whatsoever. The only thing that they share is that they are sort of managed, or their stories are set into place by axes. Another word for axis that is completely valid could be God, but I think a better word would be that they are the authors of the entire Tales user story universe. They are described as having abilities and powers, not so much like combative powers, but powers to dictate the story's outcomes. Essentially, not being able to go into the past and not being able to really necessarily like change the future even, but like set a story into motion that has limited outcomes. There's no infinite possibility once you set that story into motion. And then once you set it into motion, like the future is basically almost guaranteed. Like the author like sets a story into motion and then it just keeps going on. Like it breathes life into a story idea essentially. And the only known Axis would be Pentaminum, who is obviously connected to the Tower of God lore, as we see with Yurik, and with Pentaminum destroying Jihad's armed forces and entering his castle and slaughtering everybody and such. So Pentaminum is assumedly, perhaps even, the Axis or author of Tower of God. Perhaps you could even say the god of Tower of God. Now, people have speculated, myself included, that the
Tower of Phantominium
bomb could be another Axis, some kind of being on the outside with this ability.
Imagine Hadon and Phantom are just kind of hanging out all the time and shit. Okay, Hadon, go get this guy. Go get this guy. He's just bullshit.
Go pick up the white boy in the cave.
But with the Shining Ones lore, with the Yurik spinoff, it puts it into a weird perspective and a weird place where we have to kind of figure out like Shining Ones and the ones who swallow the light, the followers of Pentaminum, and Axes, like who is what and who falls into which category. So we gotta try to stay on track with just what we know an Axis to be. We'll save all the theories and speculation for later. I find the term Axis very interesting because obviously CU is using it in this kind of context of authorship and kind of helping manage and create stories in the universe. But the term Axis is actually one of like the broadest terms ever. I think it applies most commonly in like mathematics, like creating a line and like a spectrum on a graph. I'm not a math major, bear with me on this one, but it could also apply to politics. You see it used a lot with that kind of like creating like political spectrums and such, and like kind of putting people into different categories. But you can also use it in terms of science, like various creatures' anatomy has to do with the term Axis as well. And even technology. And even, according to Wikipedia, the video game Yellow Undertale. Undertale Yellow. So that's cool. Shout out Axis, Alabama. We see you. With all that in mind, like these Axes are canonically like the most influential beings in the entire universe. They dictate the future. And it's not some kind of
too easy
giving you the freedom once you're inside. Like, their stories are set in stone, that they are basically unchanging. And their power is so great, I know I said not really combative, but to a degree that a non-Axis cannot, even the weakest Axis cannot be touched by a non-Axis, the strongest non-Axis ever. They exist, you know, we like to compare Rancor and Regular, but Axis and non-Axis are truly in completely separate categories. Now, what's kind of interesting is when we use the term Axis to just like refer.
So theoretically, he's saying that Phantominium stop one and Yurik can't beat him.
Well, yeah. Remember we said that we don't put Enryu and Phantominium, but Phantominium is one. Yeah. I'm waiting for Jason to respond for some reason.
To people like
I think Yurik could beat him.
Technically speaking, they are Axis users. So this power of Axis is what kind of influences stories. And Axis users are like Pentaminum, who have the ability to use Axes. It's kind of weird. We just kind of bunch them together into one category because it's essentially the same thing. But what I found so fascinating is if you dive into deep Tales user story lore, like previous stories done by CU, apparently you are not born in Axis. Becoming an Axis user, utilizing Axis powers, is something you can awaken to. And this was a big part
Palm's
of a
gonna
lot of the
become
stories CU
Thanos.
used to
Yeah, it's like
create.
Bomb
There are
upscale, bro.
entire civilizations that
Heroic
were built
upscale.
around the idea of looking forward to this awakening. Like, this
Rachel
is
upscale.
way beyond
God.
Tower of God. This is like people and powers
Log
and
9 upscale.
beings that are so completely separate
Hercule
from the world that
upscale.
we're used to, even considering like irregulars, people from the outside. This is
CB2
on an
upscale.
entirely different level. This is the power
Low-key.
to create what are essentially
hate
entire
to see a light skin
worlds
win.
and universes. So an Axis has the power to influence and manage and create stories. The space around them is entirely unaffected by anyone that's not an Axis. They can set records into stone. They are truly the gods of not Tower of God, but the Tales user story, which we will be talking about in what is, I'm considering, a sequel video to this one. What I described is most of
Never
what we
dropped
know
it.
about being an
No.
Axis, but there is some additional
In 8
lore
months.
in the concept of what the Tales user
Still
story
waiting.
even
Put it in
is.
the comments.
So
Still
look
waiting
forward
for
to our
you.
next lore video where we break down the Tales user story itself, where I'll probably be bringing
In our next video. Arlene. Fucking liar.
Fucking liar.
Alright. Well, yeah, that's
the
all,
Yurik
all the video.
Vizino spin-off series has
Yeah.
by anyone that's not an Axis. They can set records into stone. They are truly the gods of not
Alright,
Tower of God,
call it that
but
then.
That's fun. Good
That was
information.
interesting.
Yeah.
I like this type of content.
Like what we're doing or what he's doing.
What we're doing way cooler than what he's doing.
he's doing all the work. We're just like, oh yeah, nice. All right, but that's it for the stream, guys. We'll be back on Wednesday. All right, what's today?
Yeah, Monday.
Damn. All right, yeah. I'll see you guys in 2 days. Have a good night.